Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down how the latest ITIL framework is completely changing the game for project management. We're talking about shifting from just being a delivery function to becoming a real driver of business strategy. Let's get into how this flips the conversation from what did we build to so what value did we actually create?
All right, let's kick things off with a problem that I'm sure feels, well, painfully familiar to a lot of you out there. We're talking about the ghost of projects past. You know, the ones that technically succeeded, but in reality just kind of fizzled out.
You know the story, right? A project manager stands up, big presentation, all green check marks, it was on time, it was on budget, the tech works just fine. But then, a few months down the line, you look around and realize nothing has really changed for the business. It's the classic case of winning the battle, but completely losing the war.
And this right here, this is the heart of the issue. On the left, you've got your project outputs. These are the things we delivered, the what. But on the right, you have the business outcomes, the why. Did we actually make more money? Did we make things run smoother? Did we make customers happier? This is the gap that we absolutely have to close.
Okay, so how do we fix this? How do we actually bridge that gap between just doing stuff and making a real difference? Well, this is where a huge shift in thinking, really pushed forward by the ITIL 4 framework, comes into play. It's all about changing what success even means.
You gotta understand, ITIL 4 isn't just, ITIL 3 with a fresh coat of paint. No way. It's a fundamental rethink of what IT is even for. We're moving away from just keeping the lights on and instead focusing everything on creating real end-to-end value for the entire company.
In this quote, this is a big one. Value co-creation. Now I know it might sound like a bit of a buzzword, but stick with me because it's a game changer. The idea is that value isn't something IT just builds and then, tosses over the wall to the business. Real value is created with everyone, with customers, with partners, with all the stakeholders. It's a team sport from day one.
So if ITIL 4 is all about this idea of co-creating value, what does that actually mean for the project managers? The folks in the trenches getting things done. Let's see how they fit into this new world.
The big mental shift here is to stop thinking that projects exist in a vacuum. They're not these little separate islands. In the ITIL 4 world, they are a critical gear in a much bigger machine. A machine that's designed to turn business needs into actual, tangible value. And this is that machine I was talking about, the Service Value System, or SVS. And if you look closely, see that line item, practices? That's our home base. That's where project management lives. It's seen as one of 34 key toolkits, basically, that the whole organization uses to create value.
Now, ITIL 4 draws a really important line in the sand here. On the left, you have project work. It's temporary, it's about creating something new, it's about managing change. And on the right, you have business as usual, operations, which is all about stability and keeping things running smoothly. The project's job is to deliver that change so operations can take it and run with it.
Okay, this all sounds pretty awesome in theory, right? But how do you actually do it? How does a company make sure its projects are delivering real value on the ground and not just, sounding good in a meeting?
And here's the really great part. ITIL 4 isn't this super rigid, do it this way or else kind of framework. Not at all. It's built from the ground up to be flexible. It knows there's no single best way to run a project.
So, what does that flexibility look like in the real world? It means your teams have options. If you've got a project where the requirements are crystal clear and unlikely to change, hey, maybe a traditional waterfall approach is perfect. But for something more innovative or complex, where you're learning as you go, an agile method like Scrum is going to be your best friend. ITIL 4 lets you pick the right tool for the job.
But here's the secret sauce. This is how you make sure the value actually shows up. It's a practice called Benefits Realization Management. And the most important parts? Look at step 1. Identify the benefits before you even start. And then look at step 4. Track and measure those benefits after the project is done. This is what creates accountability for the outcome, not just the output.
So, when you put all these pieces together, when you're flexible in your methods, when you're tracking real benefits, suddenly project management stops being just a tactical function about getting stuff done. It becomes a true strategic powerhouse for the business.
Let's make this real. Take Equinor, the massive global energy company. They were dealing with just immense complexity in their operations around the world. So they decided to go all in on an ITL-based transformation to streamline everything.
So what happened? A 35% cost reduction in their back office operations. And get this, they did it while actually improving the quality of their services. That's not just an output, That is a massive, game-changing business outcome.
So let's bring it all home. The big takeaway here is that when you connect project management to the ITIL 4 way of thinking, the entire game changes. Projects have to be tied to strategy. Success is all about business impact or outcomes, and that value, it has to be managed long after the project team goes home. It's about turning great ideas into real, sustainable value.
And that leaves us with one final question, and I want you to really think about this one for your own workplace. The next time a project gets that big success stamp of approval, ask yourself, what are we actually celebrating? Are we celebrating the delivery of an output, or are we celebrating the achievement of a meaningful outcome? The answer to that question really tells you everything you need to know.